Okay, well, we are live on YouTube now. So let me start the recording also. Okay, so let's start with Kirtan. Angel Mataji, would you like to start with the Kirtan? Or Rajiv Prabhu? Hare Krishna. So, okay, I let me start now. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimade
Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine
Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Nirvani
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Vishitarine
Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Hare.
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare, Hare Ram,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare
नाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की
Jai
वैष्णववृंद की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद
Jai
की जय। जय
Jai
जय श्री राम श्याम।
Jai Jai
Okay, I forgot to select a bhajan today. Okay. Okay, so can we do this bhajan today? Bhajahu re mana Srinandanan Abhaya Charanar Vindare. This is by Govind Das Kaviraj, a very popular bhajan done by
Yes.
many ISKCON devotees. With this bhajan?
Yes, you heard this one.
Good. So would you like to do?
Which tune we do?
Bhajahu re mana Srinandanan Abhaya Charanar Vindare. दुर्लभ मानव जन्म सत्संगे तरोए भाव सिंधुरे. Are you familiar with this?
We have heard once,
I
twice, but
mean,
not fully familiar.
you can
We are
do
familiar with the
whichever
other
tune you are
tune.
comfortable. Yeah. Okay, you can do that.
Bhajahu re man Shri Nandanandana Abhay Charanar Vindare दुर्लभ मानव जन्म सत्संगे दुर्लभ मानव जन्म सत्संगे कर आए भव सिंधु रे तर आए भव सिंधु रे भजहु रे मन श्री नंदनंदन अभय चरण अरविंद रे सीतप आतप बात बरीशन सीतप आतप बात बरीशन हे दिन जामनी जागरे दिन जामिनी जाके विफल सेविनु कृपन दुर्जन विफल सेविनु कृपण दुर्जन चपल सुख लब लागिरे भजहु रे मन श्री नंद नंदन अभय चरण अरविंद रे। आगे का उसमें पैरा था क्या? तो ये दो पैरा सुना, तीसरा पैरा शायद नहीं है उसमें।
ए धन यौवन पुत्र परिजन हित की असति कमल दल जन जीवन तल मल भजहु हरि पद श्री नंदन श्रवण कीर्तन स्मरण वंदन पद सेवन श्रवण कीर्तन स्मरण वंदन पद सेवन पूजा आत्मा निवेदन गोविंद रस विभास की जन आत्मा निवेदन गोविंद रस विलास भजो मन श्री नंदन हृदय चरण Okay, translation. O mind, just worship the lotus feet of the son of Nanda, which make one fearless. Having obtained this rare human birth, cross over this ocean of worldly existence through the association of saintly persons. Both in the day and at night, I remain sleepless, suffering the pains of heat and cold, the wind and rain. For a fraction of flickering happiness, I have uselessly served wicked and miserly man. What assurance of real happiness is there in all of one's wealth, youthfulness, son, and family members? This life is like water on a lotus petal. Therefore, you should always serve and worship the divine feet of Lord Hari. It is the desire and great longing of Govindadas to engage himself in the nine processes of bhakti, namely the hearing the glories of Lord Hari and chanting those glories, constantly remembering him and offering prayers to him, serving the Lord's lotus feet, serving the Supreme Lord as a servant, worshipping him with flowers and incense and so forth, serving him as a friend, and completely offering the Lord one's very self. Govindas Kaviraj ki jai. Okay.
जय
Om Ananjalashalakoya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so we can start with that. Are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, just give me one. One minute. Okay. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinani Namaste Saraswate Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatari. Okay. So I
Okay.
put my.
Outside.
Can
No,
you hear me,
Prabhu.
Prabhu?
Not on your video.
Yeah. Video, sorry. I am unable to turn on my video.
Acha. Okay. Continue.
Okay. So this is like a the my thoughts are in the form of a poetry that I wrote for Srila Prabhupada. Eternally grateful that he gave us this matchless gift of Krishna consciousness, and so I wrote this thing. So I titled it "The Saint Who Brought the Matchless Gift." You took your Guru's impossible instruction to your heart's core, preparing for a mission to relieve the souls weary from Maya's beating sore. The maiden voyage across the oceans was just the beginning, for what lay in the distant foreign land was to you beyond reckoning. Seasickness, senility, and the two heart attacks would have sounded the withdrawal bell for most, but faith and surrender to his divine will was always your guiding post. The Supreme Lord promises to guide the lost soul. His divine grace shines forth through your teachings, lighting the path to life's ultimate goal. We were not never blessed to be in your immediate presence, but the relics you labor to produce have become our saving grace. Many a book had I read in my life until this age, but never read one that could make one a sage page by page. Where corporeal fear is the lowest common denominator of every embodied soul, you taught of the soul's indestructibility and reviving its love for God as the highest common goal. Devious political propaganda to cheat the masses never stood before you tall. The ideas of equality without acknowledging God's universal patriarchy you predicted would eventually fall. Every translation and purport in your books are individual letters to the readers, one and all. And the letters you wrote to your disciples revealed ways to apply them to the circumstance at call. Through your teachings, you demonstrated Krishna consciousness as a supreme science above mere sentimental rituals or the myriad inconclusive philosophical speculative minds. You traveled the globe carrying Krishna's universal message of love, inspiring souls to realize themselves through chanting the Lord's holy names that have descended from above. Knowing the age of hypocrisy and quarrel could break down the best, you created ISKCON, a home to house every aspiring devotee to stay bound together with the rest. Your contributions to humanity are a marvel, impossible for one to fathom until they reach the age when you began it all. There were several godmen who claimed to be masters of the mystical, gathering vows from their followers, clearly impressed by their feats magical. Mystical jugglery was not unknown to you, but you cared a fig for personal embellishments, preferring the bigger view. Citing the transformation of hippies to happies, you proclaimed was the greatest wonder. Indeed, the world had found a saint who could make the wounded souls heal and recover. You are the ocean of mercy who inundated the heart of your disciples with the same compassion. They are the jewels you have left behind to share the matchless gift of your eternal mission. Bhajahu Remana Srinandana Nandana Abhaya Charana Ravindara. All glories to you, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Please engage me in your eternal service. Thank you so much, Prabhupada.
Very wonderful, Prabhu. Great
Jai,
offering.
Jai.
Wonderful. Beautiful. And I think you should share in the group also so that everyone can read. And probably we can share also with others. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
I was
so
just
it
so
was
overwhelmed when I was writing. I just kept thinking everything that we discussed in the class, all the things that I heard from Maharaj's lecture about Prabhupada, and all that we know from Prabhupada's life. So I think it's because Prabhupada was inspiring that we could do something to Glorify him.
Jai. And so coincidentally, Prabhu, you ended with Bajahu Remana Srinandanandana.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I have
today,
actually. I'm surprised. Amazing.
and see the coincidence that even we did that same bhajan, and I was not
Yeah,
even
yeah.
like I mean I
Aware.
just saw that bhajan and just selected that bhajan. So that was
Yeah.
it just striked me that so it has a close connection with Srila Prabhupada also, Abhay Charana Arvind. Yeah,
Exactly. When you
amazing.
started the bhajan, I was like, wow, how did you know? Or how did I know?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So amazing arrangement by Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, this is Guru
Jai,
Tattva.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Wonderful. So you can, Prabhu, you can share your poem in the group, and I can also forward it to devotees.
Okay. Sure, sure. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Prabhu. Now I would like to ask my wife Anand Vrindavan Devidasi to present her offering to Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so she prefers not with the video, only with voice. Okay. Yes.
Dear Srila Prabhupada,
Okay. Are you all able to hear?
It is a little low, Prabhuji.
Are you able to hear my wife's voice?
No,
Dear
Prabhuji.
Srila Prabhupada, all glory. Dear Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you.
Now are you able to hear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. Prabhupada, it was predicted by astrologer that you will travel the whole world and shall build 108 temples. All true, as you dedicated your entire life to your Guru Maharaj, Siddhant Saraswati Thakur. Prabhupada, you gave us temples, Govindas, perfect rasas, deity worship, and so many sevas which one can do according to his or her own nature. Prabhupada, you also gave powers like Radhanath Maharaj, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, Giriraj Maharaj, and so many others who are all unique in their own way. Prabhupada, your book previous for this Kali Yoga. You slept few hours and sometimes you even didn't sleep to give us the valuable treasure in form of your books. We are really eternally grateful for all this what you have given. Prabhupada, please always keep me in your prayers and give some intelligence so that I can do some menial service to help you and your mission and to help you in your mission. Your granddaughter Anand Vrindavan Devdasi.
Oh,
Haribol.
Jai.
Jai. Okay. So, okay, next, Rajiv Prabhu and family.
I'll read mine. It's a very small letter.
Okay.
Then
I
I'll
mean,
call the children.
yeah, you all have, I mean, you can speak for 10-15 minutes also. We have time.
This is my first ever offering, Prabhuji.
Okay, good.
Dear Srila Prabhupada, Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedant Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. On this auspicious occasion of Vyasa Puja, please accept my humble obeisances in the dust of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada, you have bestowed your blessings on so many fallen, conditioned souls and have converted thousands of Malechas into devotees. Due to your causeless mercy, The Krishna conscious movement is continuing to expand. I beg you to shower your mercy and blessings always, Srila Prabhupada, so that me, along with my family, may advance in spiritual life and so that we can remember you always and never forget Krishna. Your most fallen servant, Angel Rajiv Khanna.
Hari Bol, Mataji. Hari. Thank you.
I'll just call the children, Prabhuji. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
Till then, Prabhuji, somebody else can make the offering till the kids are coming.
You can make the offering.
I'll do it with the kids now when they are also here in their presence.
Acha, okay. Swati Mataji.
Yeah. Okay. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to your divine grace. Dear Srila Prabhupada, I am eternally grateful for revealing the purpose of my life and for all the wonderful opportunities that you have given us so that we could live according to the principles laid down in the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. You have taken so much trouble to give us these wonderful scriptures in such a simple and sublime way that people like me can also understand. Studying your books is a wonderful way to associate with you, in which you have also added the commentaries of our acharyas like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Jiva Goswami. You are such exemplary devotee who took the instructions of your Guru Maharaj as your only life and soul, always engaged in Krishna's service and circulated the globe even at the age of 70, establishing so many temples around the world, also trained so many disciples, thereby uplifting the fallen. In spite of all this, you never take any credit and gave all the credit to your Guru Maharaj and to your disciples. You bestowed compassion not only to the human beings, but to even small creatures like insects too. We are eternally grateful for all your disciples who are taking this movement forward and giving us devotee association and also all that we need. Today, I am made up of your mercy. Only your teachings are our guiding factor. I pray on this. I pray to you on this occasion of your Vyasa Puja that you may give me the strength and intelligence to serve you, your disciples, and your grand disciples. Your insignificant servant, Swati. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hari Bol. Wonderful, Mataji. Thank
Hari
you so
Bol.
much. Okay. Okay, so are you all ready?
Unnati.
Hare Krishna,
Hari Bol.
Unnati. How are you?
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Very good,
How
thank
are you? Good? Good. Yeah, so we are so happy that you thought of sharing your realizations for Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you for this opportunity. I will read it now. Yeah. Hari Bol,
Yeah,
offering
okay.
my humblest obeisances to the dust at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. Your appearance day is one of remembrance of divinity and eternal grace, a reminder of how unqualified the spirit soul is. Yet one prays you shower it with the strength to serve the servant of your servant of your servant. You showed there is magic in this world, sense of familiarity and servitude that surpasses all time and space. Thoughts of you are indifferent from those of Sri Radha Govinda, and merely thinking them makes this birth successful. Hare Krishna. Eternally and humbly yours, Unnati Khanna. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Jai. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Swayam will speak now.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Swayam Prabhu, how are you?
I'm good, Prabhuji. How are you?
Good, good. Yeah, you have recovered, right, from the coronavirus?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I'll read
So,
now.
yes.
Dear Srila Prabhupada, I offer to you my humble obeisances and would like to wish you a very happy birthday. On this auspicious day, I want to take this opportunity to especially ask you for your blessings to allow me to gain the right knowledge and help me find the path to Krishna consciousness. Thank you for starting this wonderful movement, ISKCON, that has helped all of us devotees to associate with one another and enjoy kirtans and celebrations. Hare Krishna. Yours lovingly, Swayam Krishna Khanna.
Yeah, nice. Thank you.
Pranav Prabhu will say now.
Yes, Prabhuji. So, in my offering, Prabhuji, I'm actually remembering first Srila Prabhupada for the most wonderful times we've had in our childhood. I'm remembering something as early as sixth grade, where during Janmashtami celebrations, how we would bunk school and go to ISKCON temple and partake in the wonderful celebrations. I even remember in the Juhu ISKCON, they had a matki, and the brahmacharis, they made that pyramid. And that's something I can never forget, because we used to see those Bombay ke gali ke chokre log doing it, but this was the brahmacharis doing it, was a sight, all in orange, getting up over one another and trying it. And it was really tough. They had to go like 3 levels, fourth level tak almost pahunch raha tha. They must have practiced for it, and I cannot forget that. And every Sunday used to be the feast. It was fixed for our entire family. My grandparents, we were a joint family. So my grandparents, my chachaji's family, our family, some 10 of us, we would go every Sunday. Was feast time. And how there was so many visiting devotee families from Mayapur or from foreign countries, and their children would present wonderful skits based on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Gaur Nitai Leelas, Krishna Radha Leelas. They would present in the auditorium. So after the prasadam, we would just rush to the auditorium to get the best seats, because it used to get full. And those memories are synonymous with the best times of our childhood. So when we think about it, that Srila Prabhupada has, of course, there is a lot of bhakti quotient and for us to learn, but these things, from the child's point of view, also it is so rich in content, and something we can relish on and keep on remembering. So remembering this, and now, so I wondered that although since childhood we were involved, somehow that counseling aspect, that came a bit late in life. I always considered ISKCON as my home. Like, for example, even for my work, when I would travel and go to remote places, I would always look for an ISKCON temple close by, and maybe attend Mangal Aarti, somehow get connected and spend a lot of time. I may have spent more time in Pune ISKCON temple in the last 10 years, since I got very busy with work. But Pune, I've spent more time than in Bombay. So that's another thing, that it is so wonderful that by grace of Srila Prabhupada, in every town, in the major towns of our country, we have ISKCON temple, and wherever we go, we get that feeling of home. That's something that you when you go to another place and you look for something familiar. So thanks to the ISKCON temples, the best times in the evening, we can go there, attend Aarti, have prasadam there. So that kind of connection has always been there. Now I'll just say these few words of a few lines that I've written. Dearest Srila Prabhupada, my dearest Srila Prabhupada, humble obeisances at your lotus feet for unlocking this joy that's overwhelmingly sweet, for making it possible in this age of spiritual poverty, associating with most wonderful your family of devotees. But being pulled into temptations, continuously am falling. Any chance that I surrender to your divine calling? My only hope, that bountiful gaze, if you heed, your grace, your blessings, I'll constantly need. Your most fallen servant, Rajiv Khanna. So, Prabhuji, this is thanks to the being a part of the congregations and hearing the philosophy that one realizes that yes, actually we are very fallen, and uh, there's a lot of distance mileage to be covered before we can look anywhere going back home, back to Godhead. Still, by His divine grace, the path has been made available to us, and now there is hope. And thanks to the association of wonderful preachers like you and others, that we now have chance, a real practical possibility for us to get back home, back to Godhead. Thank you. So my gratitudes to you is also directed finally towards Srila Prabhupada, because that's the lineage, and that is, we are really grateful for that. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your nice offering. And yeah, so whatever I am able to give is only because of mercy of Srila Prabhupada and mercy of all the Gurujans. And whatever service I'm able to render is also because of their mercy. And I'm also trying to serve all of you for my own benefit, because this was the order of Guru, and so by rendering some kind of service to all of you, I'm trying to uplift myself. So it's all because of the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and the entire parampara. Okay, great. Nice. All right. So I think it just got a message from Nirvika that she will be joining at around 10 o'clock. Anyone else is there would like to offer? Okay. Okay, so I will begin my offering. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Dearest Srila Prabhupada, accept my humble obeisances at the dust of your lotus feet. Unlimited glories to you. Where should I begin and where should I end? Your glories, sacrifices, and compassion for us are unlimited. You have not only given us the science of pure devotional service, but most importantly, taught us how it can be implemented in a pragmatic way by engaging our talents, work, and everything in service of Krishna. Teachings, you have monumentally emphasized the fallacies in Mayavad philosophy and very thoroughly established the principle of being the servant of the Lord. Your outstanding Bhaktivedanta purports are eye-opener for us. In your teachings and from your leelas, reveal to us the secrets and depths of Krishna consciousness philosophy, along with providing us insights of teachings of all previous acharyas. Indeed, your purpose into the spiritual world. Your entire life was an inconceivable and glorious future to come about. In spite of unlimited inconveniences, struggles, challenges, and obstacles, you never stopped spreading Krishna consciousness just so that we can attain eternal benefit. You always taught us that implicit faith in Guru and Krishna is a secret of success in spiritual life, and that without Guru Sadhu Shastra, one can neither understand Krishna nor approach him directly. You showed your own example by having implicit faith in the order of your Guru and also in the potency of the holy name. You have also taught us the importance of going deep in our sadhana and how strong sadhana is the only way to serve effectively. Like a selfless father, you have your followers and taught us the ABCD of Krishna consciousness. You have given us everything that we need to thrive in a spiritual life. Guru, cow protection, temples, prasadam, association of devotees, books, and not just spiritually, but also materially. You are taking care of us so much that many times we don't realize it. It's all your mercy and your selfless love for us. In seeing your followers to be happy in Krishna consciousness, in spite of their conditionings. What you have given to us, Srila Prabhupada, will never be repaid back to you. And hence we are eternally indebted to you. It's actually a great blessing for us, since because of that indebtedness, we'll always strive to serve you life after life, in this world or next world. Although I am a hypocrite filled with anarthas and many material desires, but I also intensely and greedily hanker for the day when I will have no other desire than to always serve and please you. For this, I beg at your lotus feet to allow me to give chance birth after birth to serve your servant of servants until the day comes uh, when you completely become pleased with my humble efforts and attempt to serve your instructions. I wish, pray, and beg at your lotus feet to always keep me engaged in the service of your servants in my humble capacity to spread Krishna consciousness as much as possible in the form of distributing your books and your heart and soul. Your compassion is so great that you are willing to deliver thousands of jagais and madhais, which even Lord Nityananda Prabhu couldn't deliver or didn't deliver. You are willing to bestow the greatest gift to the lowest of people in the shortest amount of time. Thus, your compassion is inconceivable and incomparable. All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada, aspiring to be the servant of your servant of the servant of your servants. Your insignificant servant, Prem Ras Das. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Wonderful, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jai.
So, Prabhupada's glories are unlimited, and it's not possible to describe the glories of Srila Prabhupada. Just like Lord Anantadev, he has millions of mouths, thousands of mouths, shared in Shastra that he has thousands of mouths. And uh, one mouth also is not able to describe the glories of the Lord. Then what to speak of thousands of mouths? He will never be able to describe or reach the end of the. So similarly, when the pure devotee is coming to this material world, they are actually more magnanimous than Krishna, because uh, Krishna is quite he's Krishna basically demands surrender to some degree, but Srila Prabhupada, he has just given us love of Krishna without any return or without any demand. So definitely Prabhupada's mercy, um, you know, that's why I said that even Nityanand Prabhu also one time Nav Yogendra Maharaj conversation with Prabhupada, and he said he realized the greatness of Prabhupada. So he went to Prabhupada. He said that Prabhupada, I feel that you are even greater than Lord Nityananda. And Prabhupada asked him, why do you think like that? And so he replied that Nityananda Prabhu delivered only one Jagai and Madhai, but you have delivered thousands of Jagai and Madhais like us. So Prabhupada, actually your compassion is even greater than Nityananda Prabhu. And Prabhupada smiled and he said Hari Bol. So actually we can clearly understand how Prabhupada, in each and everything, Prabhupada's contribution is unique. He has given us everything which we require to thrive in spiritual life. So, I mean, what are we doing? We are not doing anything actually, because Prabhupada has already set up the entire thing for us. the foundation is already set up. Just have to assist him. So single-handedly, Prabhupada actually spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world. So that's his greatness, with help of any of his god brothers. Although he was trying to get help from his god brothers, but somehow it did not work. And Akimchan Krishnadas Babaji was Prabhupada's god brother. So he was speaking to Prabhupada's disciples, and then he asked Prabhupada's disciples that, do you know why your Guru Maharaj is the only one who spread Krishna consciousness to every nook and corner of the world? So devotees started saying that because of his intense greed, intense desire, because of his effort, determination, like that, they were giving different answers. But then Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj said, no, none of these. Actually, the real reason is because he had implicit faith in the holy name and in the orders of the Guru. That's why he's the only one who actually took the holy name through each and every nook and corner of the world. So during Prabhupada's sannyas initiation, there was some kind of fire sacrifice yajna also. And in the background, so because of, as we know that whenever there's a fire sacrifice, then there is noise of the chanting of the mantras, right? The devotees are chanting mantras in order to pay oblations in the fire. And that's why there is a lot of noise, because there are many different mantras. So in the midst of that, someone asked Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji to stop the kirtan because it was interfering with the chanting of the mantras. And Srila Prabhupada, he saw that. So Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji, he stopped his kirtan, but Prabhupada saw that, and then he just made a gesture like this to please continue. So at that moment, Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji realized that he is actually the one who has implicit faith in the holy name. Definitely the Harinam Sankirtan, which is going to purify everything, which will perfect everything. Because whenever we are offering some kind of yajna or some kind of sacrifice, fire sacrifice, or if we are performing any kind of devotional activity, mentioned by Srila Jeev Goswami, that especially in Kali Yuga, whatever we do should be assisted by the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Because in Kali Yuga, whatever we are offering to the Lord, it is imperfect, it is inconsistent, and it does not have so much purity. So in order to make it perfect, in order to complete, in order to purify it, the chanting of Hare Krishna go on. So that's why we see that when we start with Mangala Arti, when we do Gaur Arti, when we do any kind of devotional activity, which is if we implement any one of the limbs of bhakti, it is observed that we always end with chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Like, for example, in Kirtan also, we start Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale. Then we went to Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. And then we ended with chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And you see in the Gaur Arti also, in the Mangala Arti also, you'll see the same thing, that although we are offering to the spiritual master, to the Acharya and the Parampara, at the end, what we are doing is, we are paying our respects to Srila Prabhupada, and then we are also chanting the Panchtattva Mahamantra, and then finally the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So it is concluded by the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And similarly in the Gaur Arati also we do the same thing. So at the end, then Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, and then Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So like that, if you observe very carefully, Prabhupada has given us the synopsis, the essence of the entire 64 limbs of bhakti. Yesterday only, Bhanu Maharaj was mentioning that there are 64 limbs of bhakti, which are the most prominent ones. But out of those 64, there are which are the most potent and which are the most important ones. So you'll see that association of devotees, Kirtan, Srimad Bhagavatam, then residing in Holy Dham, and deity worship. So these are the five most potent forms of limbs of bhakti. And very expertly and geniusly, Srila Prabhupada has incorporated these five limbs of bhakti in each of our temple, right? So if you see, starting with Harinam Sankirtan, obviously Harinam Sankirtan is going on each and every nook and corner of ISKCON. Wherever there is ISKCON temple, Hare Krishna Mahamantra is going on. Second is association of devotees. By establishing temples, Prabhupada has proven that the purpose of the temple is to assemble or associate with similar-minded people, so that we can actually come together and we can glorify the Lord. And obviously we receive education. So we see that association of devotees is also achieved by this implementation, by establishing temples. And then we also know how Prabhupada incorporated the of Srimad Bhagavatam classes in the morning, right? Every morning in the temple we have Srimad Bhagavatam classes going on. So Bhagavatam is also there. And then talk about staying in the Dham, residing in the Dham. Then Prabhupada said that all the temples, wherever they are all local Vaikunthas. So Prabhupada actually purpose was to actually establish temples or establish dhams wherever devotees they are in this world. So in our Janmashtami class, I think probably most of you had missed the last portion of the class where I was explaining that just like Krishna is expanding himself in different dhams in different portions of the material world, we know that Shyam Sundar or Brajendranandan Krishna is the original form of the Lord, and he is always residing in Vrindavan, right? So whenever he is taking a step out of Vrindavan, he is actually sending his expansions to Mathura, Dwarka, to Hastinapur, and Kurukshetra, all these other places. So it is mentioned by Srila Jiva Goswami that just as Krishna is expanding from Vrindavan to whichever places he is visiting, so similarly the Dham also expands. When we go from to, when we are situated outside of Vrindavan, so the Vrindavan Dham also expands. So wherever there are devotees, wherever there is Harinam Sankirtan, because Krishna is not different from the holy name. So wherever there is Hare Krishna Mahamantra, wherever there are devotees, wherever there is a temple, what happens is actually the Dham also expands and the Dham is also present there. Okay. So this principle was also very intelligently incorporated by Srila Prabhupada. And then finally, the principle of worshipping the deities. So, and one time Prabhupada also said that if you cannot reside in the holy dham, obviously you can do it mentally, or you can have tulsi, the tulsi plant also, because the tulsi plant is not different from Vrindavan, because its original form is Vrinda Devi. Okay, and she is the guardian of the entire Vrindavan area. So when you have tulsi plant, then that place also becomes Vrindavan Dham. So the residing of Dham is very perfectly arranged by Srila Prabhupada in this way. And then finally talk about the deities. So we know how much Srila Prabhupada wanted that we should worship the deities. We should have temples, and there should be gorgeous worship of the deities in the temple, right? So and Prabhupada said many times, just by looking at the deities regularly, you will forget your own beauty and you will always realize the beauty of Krishna. So you'll forget dressing yourself very beautifully, but you'll always try to dress the Lord beautifully. And by appreciating the beauty of the Lord, you'll forget material existence, you'll forget your beauty also in this world, because everything is temporary. So obviously now, this is obviously one of the most important reasons, but there is also one internal reason why Prabhupada incorporated these 5 features in all our temples. And that principle is that because these 5 items or limbs, most potent forms of attaining Krishna in Vrindavan. So someone who is attracted to Vrindavan Krishna, then these 5 forms of bhakti, they are going to be very favorable for us. Okay, and that's how we'll be able to connect with the Lord of Vrindavan very intimately. Right? So very intelligently, Prabhupada has actually incorporated these 5 limbs. And then obviously what to speak of giving us so many services, connecting each and every devotee in their own unique ways to the service of to the service of expanding the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Giving a very practical approach, not just a very theoretical approach, not just emphasizing on the internal cultivation of bhakti, but also at the same time doing some practical service, engaging our senses in the service of the Lord. So there's something very important that we had discussed yesterday in Maharaj's class. So if you remember, Maharaj mentioned about 64 rounds of chanting. So some devotees, they chant 64 rounds, and generally this was very common during the time of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and the predecessor acharyas. Okay, because obviously they were very pure in their thoughts. Their minds were purified by the process of Krishna consciousness. Had no contamination, and they had no bad habits, or they were not committing any sinful activities. So they could actually focus on the holy, and they had the time. See, in the earlier days, there was no industrial civilization. That's why they were not working like 8 hours or 10 hours a day. There were no night shifts, and many things were not there. It was a very simple, easy life. As Prabhupada used to say that simple thinking, simple living, high thinking. Simple living, high thinking, right? That's what Prabhupada used to say, especially in the context of Varnashram. So Prabhupada did emphasize a lot of times that devotees, they can have their own farms, they can have their own lands, and then they can very happily, they can be dependent on the grains and the fruits ground, and they can be satisfied with that, and they can spend more time in their Krishna consciousness. So in earlier days, you see, this was the trend, that people or devotees, they get a lot of time to discuss, hear about spiritual life, and also to focus on that. But in this particular generation, we see that this is something which is practically not possible unless you are a sannyasi or a brahmachari. Okay, and then obviously even brahmacharis and sannyasis also have difficulties sometimes. So we can definitely understand this particular time we are distracted. We cannot focus on the holy name, and one very important consideration while chanting so many rounds is that one has to meditate on the Ashtakalya Leela of the Lord, which is the 840 pastimes of the Lord in the spiritual world. So now obviously, when you chant the holy name for such a long time, you have to connect your mind to something, because what happens is you may start chanting, and you probably will be able to concentrate and focus on the first few rounds, but then you will be distracted. Why? Because you will probably realize and understand that the holy name is not connecting with you, in the sense that it should actually reveal to us the name, fame, the form, the qualities, the pastimes of the Lord. If that is not happening to us automatically, then we have to meditate, we have to specially focus on a particular system. That's why they had this Ashtakalya Leela Smaranam, which basically means that you sit down for chanting, and what does the eightfold daily pastimes of the Lord mean? it basically means that right from like in a 24-hour schedule, the Lord is having his pastimes. Okay, and you have to get absorbed in those pastimes right from the beginning to the end, and that's why if you have some kind of service in the pastime, and you cannot have service unless you have your siddha there, or you have your vastu siddhi, like your spiritual form. If you don't have it, then obviously you cannot also enter Krishna's service. Ashkalila Lila Smaranam was to actually sit, chant, and then remember the pastimes of Lord throughout the eightfold durations of the day. That was actually the purpose, and that's how devotees in the past, they were able to connect with the holy name, and especially the holy name would connect to the remembrance of the Lord in form of lila, in form of seva. Okay, that's why they were able to chant. But in this particular age and day, it's not possible to do that because devotees, they do not have so much of time. So anyways, the point of explanation is that this is how intelligently Srila Prabhupada has engaged us by giving us practical application of devotional service and not just theoretical. If he would have given us, like, obviously Prabhupada did start with uh, did ask disciples to chant with 64 rounds, but then obviously disciples realized, and even Prabhupada also realized, that with so many number of rounds, it's not possible to do service, and Prabhupada actually wanted a lot of practical service from them. So then he brought it down to 32 rounds, and then again the disciples, they started feeling that this is also too much. So then Prabhupada brought it to 16 rounds. Okay. Uh, it's very interesting. I just recently heard from His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj. He quoted example from the Gaudiya Math, and he said that, and this is after Prabhupada's disappearance. So they were doing some research, because what they have heard in Gaudiya Math, devotees are initiated, or you can say that, okay, let's not talk about initiation, because initiation in Gaudiya Math happens, I mean, there is no first and second initiation. There is only the second initiation, which is the first initiation for them. But before that, they give Harinam, and they give Harinam to devotees who chant only 4 rounds. Okay, so they were surprised to hear this, because Prabhupada has set a standard where we have to chant 16 rounds first and then take Harinam, and then later on, after attaining some kind of Brahminical qualification, then we take Brahman Diksha, right? We receive Gayatri mantras. But in Gaudiya Math, they directly give Gayatri, and they obviously they give Gayatri after long time, but they give Harinam to everyone easily, and I think they have a requirement of 4 rounds for devotees. So they when they heard this, they went to some senior disciples of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, and they inquired from them, how are you doing this, and what is the philosophy and all. So then they said that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he gave Harinam, or he asked his disciples to chant 4 rounds only if they have a lot of services. If they have no service at all, then he used to ask them to chant 64 rounds a day. And if they were in between, then he used to ask them to chant 16 rounds. Okay. So the idea is that Prabhupada is very intelligently, he has can say, very in a very compassionate mode, and in a very practical way, Prabhupada actually has given us a right balance to practice Krishna consciousness. So he has not sadhana, but he also spoke about practical service, how both should be balanced. And you always emphasize the preaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, and through that way, how everything will be revealed to us with time. So yesterday we had a discussion by Bhanu Maharaj, and he was mentioning about how there are different ways to realize a Swarupa, and it was discussing about Siddha Pranali, something which is given by the Guru to the disciple. But this Siddha Pranali method is not there in ISKCON. And then I was just sharing my thoughts that how, because it was Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, it was Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, who all promoted Harinam Sankirtan, and they also mentioned that just by chanting the holy name, all these things will be revealed to us with time. So yeah, so I was just sharing with Maharaj that how at a certain stage of bhakti, a devotee gets attracted to a particular rasa, and after attaining that attraction, when they further advance, then they start meditating, or you can say that, I mean, the meditation is a spontaneous process. I mean, you don't have to like force yourself to meditate. So the remembrance is smaranam becomes very natural and very favorable and useful process. So through that process, actually one will finally attain their swarupa. Okay, so the Harinam Sankirtan is a revelation method, and it's not necessary that one has to do intense bhajan, and one has to properly balance between service and sadhana, and then by Prabhupada's mercy, one will also attain one's goal. Okay, so these are very practical, can say, adjustments that with respect to our times. Okay, and then obviously he also said that my books are the law books for the next 10,000 years. So sometimes we may wonder, Prabhupada wrote certain things which are not necessarily true right now, but it can be possible after 1,000 years. I mean, Prabhupada has given a lot of heavy stuff also about certain things. So we may think that, well, we are not seeing all these things right now, but we have to also understand that Prabhupada's vision is a long-term vision, and he has already forecasted that for the next 10,000 years, the Sankirtan movement is going to expand. But after the end of 10,000 years, it will deteriorate. So keeping that in mind, Prabhupada actually has written the Bhaktivedanta purports. So amazing visionary Prabhupada, he was excellent visionary, and this is actually a true acharya, that he's not just thinking of the short term, but is also thinking of the long term benefits. Okay, yeah. Okay, just wanted to say this much. Maybe if I remember more, then I will share. But yeah, so okay, all right. So Deepika, you have joined now. You can offer.
I can start.
Yes, yes.
So Hare Krishna, all the devotees. It's always a great pleasure for anyone to glorify a pure devotee, but how does one even start doing that? Because they say a devotee has 26 qualities, but actually I think a devotee will have unlimited qualities, especially a pure devotee, because a pure devotee generally is a pure representation of the Supreme Unlimited. So Prabhupada also has a lot of unlimited qualities, and but still, I think speaking about him is it's just a way in which we can purify ourselves, and it's definitely pleasing to Krishna because he loves it when his pure devotees, whenever they are glorified. At the very outset, his birth, he chose to appear on this earth on such an auspicious day such as Nandotsav. And even this birth, this appearance, I mean, was so much in the making for like so many hundreds of years. Srila Nityanand Prabhu himself said that he would send his pure Senapati Bhakt, to get back all those people who had run away from the Vedic culture, from Bharat Varsha, who had gone and settled in different parts of the world. He would send his Senapati Bhakt in that part of the world, in those parts of the world, to reclaim such fallen souls. And apart from that, we have a reference also. It was mentioned by Gaurang Prabhu in one of his classes. I'd heard it from His Grace Sundar Chaitanya Prabhu, saying that yes, a lot of the one of the major reasons why even Krishna wanted the British rule to take place on this earth was so that English could be spoken in different parts of the world, and then later this very same English language could be used by Srila Prabhupada to spread the glories of Lord Krishna all over the world. So his coming, Srila Prabhupada's coming on this earth was not at all ordinary. It's not that he just became an acharya. It was years and years in the making. It was a full, well-planned thing of the Lord. When Srila Prabhupada was growing up, the very seed of bhakti was sown in his heart by his father, because he was very attached to Radha Govind deities, and he was even allowed to do a wonderful, sweet Rath Yatra in the compound of Radha Govind temple, the temple in Calcutta, which is very close to his house. I was very fortunate enough to go to all these places once in my yatra, which is the Radha Govind temple to his house as well. But the biggest turning point of his life came when he met his guru, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, at Ultadanga Junction. And over there, in that first meeting itself, it changed his life, because he was not his guru at that time, but he just instructed him in his first meeting to spread the glories of Krishna, of Nam Sankirtan, all over the world. And this was the seed of ISKCON, was sown at that time in Srila Prabhupada's heart. And how much even Srila Prabhupada strove for it. He started writing so many articles. He started BTG. He met so many influential people. He helped so much even the Gaudiya Math devotees to set up the first Gaudiya Math temple in Bombay itself. The credit for that even goes to him. And the thing is that he was successful to some extent, but then a lot especially after his Guru Maharaj left this world, he had to face so many problems. He was trying his best to start the worldwide movement, but he was not getting support from anyone. And he was just getting rejected. He met so many leaders. He met so many wealthy people. He even started with League of Devotees. And time and again, he was getting defeated. But he didn't accept the defeat. He was defeated, but he didn't accept the defeat. And that is a very striking quality of a pure devotee. He's just so determined. And how many of us can actually do this? Once or twice, okay, fine. 4 times, 5 times, maybe 10 times. But I think for Prabhupada, it was more than that. I think wherever he turned, he just saw defeat. Later, even his material possessions were taken away from him. And even that, Srila Prabhupada took it in such a great light. He saw it as a mercy of the Lord, that when Krishna gives his mercy, he gives many things. But when he gives his ultimate mercy, he takes away everything from you, so that Krishna is the ultimate shelter for a devotee. Finally, he left his home and he accepted Vanprasth. And he was trying to somehow be in the cooperation of his Gaudiya Math, his godbrothers in Gaudiya Math. But even that was very difficult for him, because he had such a big vision of a worldwide movement, whereas his godbrothers, they were more focused on like maybe just local preaching, and sometimes not even that so much. Srila Prabhupada's vision was very, very big. He was always a deep visionary, a very high visionary. And so somehow he was trying his best. He thought that, okay, fine, he's not able to do much, so let me try and cooperate with my godbrothers. But even that was becoming very difficult. Finally, his guru came in his dream and told him to just take sannyas. And so he just followed his Guru Maharaj in his order, and he took up sannyas and he went to Vrindavan, and he stayed first in Vamshi Gopal and then at Radha Damodar, where day in, day out, he would clean Rup Goswami's Samadhi and pray day in, he would clean it the whole night and literally pray to Rup Goswami to give him the strength. And finally, Rup Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jeev Goswami appeared to him and blessed him. And this is no ordinary thing. And in the meanwhile, Krishna was arranging everything for him in the western part of the world, where the counterculture had already started, and people there were very, very frustrated. They they didn't want to follow their predecessors. They didn't want to follow anyone before them. They were just like, they were searching for something more high. And then just at that time, bang, Prabhupada just goes there and Krishna consciousness spreads like, it really does spread like wildfire in the whole of US first, and then in different parts of the world starting from there. Uh, I remember that, when I was growing up, I liked a lot of superheroes, like my favorite one particularly was Spider-Man. And yeah, even others have Batman and Superman and Iron Man and various things. But actually for us, I think Srila Prabhupada has surpassed all of them, because an ordinary superhero can maybe save you from material calamities at the most. He can save maybe the world, he can save, okay, fine, the universe from some material calamity. But Srila Prabhupada has saved us from spiritual calamities. The biggest spiritual calamity is forgetfulness of Krishna. He has awakened that dormant love of Krishna within our hearts. And another, the biggest spiritual calamity is spiritual suicide, which is the Mayavadi concept or the impersonalist concept that we have within us. Through his purports, through his teachings, time and again, he is trying to save us from this spiritual calamity, from the spiritual suicide. So Srila Prabhupada is really, he's a real superhero. He's a bigger superhero than any superhero on this earth. And if we see Srila Prabhupada, I think if we want to compare him with anyone, I think a very good comparison would be of that with Hanumanji. Hanumanji and Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada has taken so much of inspiration even from Hanumanji. Hanumanji crossed the ocean, and even so did Srila Prabhupada when it was the most daunting and difficult task. Hanumanji faced so many difficulties when he was crossing the ocean. Various Sinhika came up, and Shursa Devi, she came up, and Menak Parvat came up, but he just went on. Srila Prabhupada crossed the ocean. He faced difficulties. The biggest difficulties was his own health. He faced 2 heart attacks, but he just crossed it. And what was the strength of Hanumanji? It was just Ram's name and Ram's instruction. Srila Prabhupada had the same thing. He had his guru's instruction, and he had Krishna's name. He had Chaitanya Charitamrit with him. He had his box of Bhagavatam. His Krishna himself, he had it with him. Hanumanji went to Lanka to find Sita Mata. And who is Sita Mata? She's bhakti. She's devotional service personified. And what does Srila Prabhupada do? He found the dormant bhakti, devotional service in the heart of every living entity in the western part of the world. And he fanned it. He was able to find that and give it light. How Hanumanji gave hope to Mata Sita, in the same way, Srila Prabhupada gave hope to the living entities who were rotting in a Ravan Maya-like material world in the US, which was so materialistically driven, that he was the only one who could give them hope. Hanumanji burnt Lanka, and similarly, even Srila Prabhupada waged war. He literally, with his war, with his words, with his teachings, he was able to burn material existence for all the devotees who came under his shelter. And he was able to fight with Ravan like Maya. And Hanumanji played such an important role in uniting Sita Mata with Ramchandra. And similarly, Srila Prabhupada also played a very important role, and he is still playing an important role and will continue playing an important role in uniting us living entities, the bhakti within us with our beloved Krishna. So it is so, he's not an ordinary person. Personally, for me in my life, Srila Prabhupada has played a very, very important role. He came in my life when I was undergoing a very difficult period in my life. And I had always liked going to ISKCON Juhu. And whenever I would go there, I would always buy a book from there because I like reading very much. I knew sometime in my life I'll read it, but I didn't know when, but I would always buy books. And what Prabhupada said about his books, it came out to be true. His books are like bombs. They explode when exactly the time is right. And when the time was right in my life, and I was going through a very distressing period in my life, mentally, emotionally, at that time, somehow by Prabhupada's grace, by Krishna's grace, I started reading Prabhupada's books. And there was no looking back. In the first book itself, The Path of Perfection, it showed the path of perfection. I think one of the most striking things about Prabhupada is his clarity. he is very clear in his vision, is very clear in the process of devotional service which he writes in his books. There are many other yogis, many other books that I've read, and I'm sorry, but I feel a lot of them just beat around the bush, and there's no clear path in them. They say you can do this, you can do that, but Prabhupada is not like that. He's a pakka acharya. He says this is it. You follow these things, you will reach your goal, and it's true. You will reach your goal if you actually just follow him, and that is something that is very important for people of this age. We want a clear path, we want a clear vision, and Prabhupada said that for us. Many times I often feel sad that in my life I was never able to meet. I was born much later than what Prabhupada, even after Prabhupada's disappearance from our vision, I was born much later. But later with time, I've realized that Prabhupada is there with us through his lectures, through his books, through his teachings, through ISKCON itself, and a very important thing, through his wonderful disciples who have given so much of their life, energy, youth. They've given up everything, and just what have they done? They've just spiritually taken care of us, nourished us by their love, care, and attention. So I'm very grateful to Srila Prabhupada for giving us so much. I pray at his lotus feet right now that I may forever be able to serve his lotus feet as well as those who are serving his lotus feet. And I hope my conduct is always such that I can always cooperate with devotees and never be the cause of anyone at least leaving ISKCON or wondering how can a devotee be like this. Because ISKCON is very dear to Srila Prabhupada, and obviously anyone, and therefore as ISKCON is dear to anyone who is sincerely serving Srila Prabhupada. I hope I can really give my body, mind, and soul in serving his mission always, life after life, because it is a fact for me personally that I only know Krishna because I know you, Srila Prabhupada. So thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Jai.
Yeah, so all the offerings are beautiful. So someone has some comment or they would like to share something? Anyone would like to say something?
No, Prabhuji. Thank you.
No, Prabhuji, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Okay, so let me ask, let's make this a bit dynamic. Let me ask a question. So what is the, how do you personally connect with Prabhupada? The most inspirational thing that you got it from Srila Prabhupada, or something that or what is it about Srila Prabhupada that inspires you the most? So we can go one by one. So let's start with Angel Mataji. Okay.
Prabhuji is the holy name. I think that's the basic thing. Whenever we start whenever every mala I do the holy name. Before that and before the Panchatattva mantra also I do the Srila Prabhupada Pranati mantra. So It has to start there, and then there are so many books that we are reading today. So every time I open the book, the foremost, the one thing that's in the mind is, so Srila Prabhupada has given this to us. So that every book I look at, that's the central thought. So it's inseparable. For me, Krishna consciousness is inseparable from Srila Prabhupada. It's not that I'm only thinking of Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's finally coming through the blessing of Srila Prabhupada. So he's constantly a part of the psyche when we are doing any of the limbs of bhakti. At least for me, that's how I'm thinking.
Okay, yeah, wonderful point. And so to remember Prabhupada, or to always to have this feeling of that Prabhupada is not separate, whatever we are doing, that actually also means that we also try to strive to follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada, because that's actually on a more intimate way. Other things can be on a physical platform, but in order to establish intimacy with the Guru, the instructions of the Guru are most important to follow. So this is what I have also been hearing recently, because Prabhupada said, and what I've heard from my Guru Maharaj, his Vyasa Puja offering to Prabhupada, and then what I've learned from other devotees, I think one common point everyone makes, each and every one of them, is that follow Srila Prabhupada, and that is the way we can actually see Srila Prabhupada also, and we can associate it with Prabhupada. So, like for example, the Vapu, and so this is a very common foundational principle of connecting intimately and deeply with Srila Prabhupada, to follow the instructions of Prabhupada. So, yeah, um, so we can say like that, and so see, this is a very this is the mystery of Krishna consciousness, that it may be easier to remember Krishna also many times. It may be easier to remember Prabhupada or so many limbs of bhakti also. But when it comes to following the instructions of Prabhupada, or following the instructions of the Guru Parampara, we have a tough time. That is not so easy, right? So this is a mystery of Krishna consciousness, and we have discussed in our Balram Purnima class also, that how the demons who were killed by Balram, uh, it has some significance. It has meaning that only when you make an attempt to to get rid of the anartha yourself, then only Balram will come and help you. So, like it is said, God help those who help themselves, right? So this is 100% applicable in our Krishna consciousness also, or the philosophy of the Vaishnava religion, that unless and until we make an effort, we actually cannot get the mercy of Guru or Krishna. So it has to work both ways. So I think it's also very important to not just meditate or remember on our Guru, but also try to think about this, that how much are we able to follow the instruction of Guru, how much we are trying to satisfy and please the Guru. Be a very intimate connection with the Guru. So yeah, this is something that just I wanted to add on what Rajiv Prabhu said. Any other devotees they would like to share something? Okay. Okay. Angel Mataji.
Prabhuji, I have not been an avid reader, but now whatever I've started reading, Prabhupada's writings, they really inspire me to do more service for other devotees towards Krishna. And the program that Prabhupada has given, the sandwich program that is called, I really, really wish कि उसके लायक बन सकूं और थोड़ी सेवा कर सकूं, डीटी वर्शिप कर सकूं. पता नहीं कब होगा वो, जब महाराज की कृपा होगी. तो मंदिर में जाते हैं तो बहुत ही अच्छा लगता है. वो सारा सेटिंग तो प्रभुपाद जी ने ही किया है वहाँ का. तो वहाँ ऐसे लगता है कि इससे अच्छी कोई जगह है ही नहीं दुनिया में. दिस इज वेयर वी वांट टू बी ऑलवेज. ऐसा लगता है कि बचपन से क्यों नहीं स्टार्ट किया. We can only pray at his lotus feet के अगला जन्म तो होगा ही हमारा. लेकिन एक अच्छी परिवार में मिले जन्म, so that we can continue chanting and more devotional service.
Jai. Thank you. Okay. Swati Madhuri.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji. The way we can, I find it, I mean, the way I want to connect with Srila Prabhupada is like reading his books is the best way, I think, to connect through him. That is what I feel. And Srila Prabhupada was expert in all any field like cooking or um, Sanskrit or management or anything. He was expert in all the fields. And the main thing that I like about him is his compassion. And he used to always give prasadam cookies to whoever he meets. So, and he was very loving person. So I used to like, that's what I like him.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nirvika.
I mostly connect a lot with Srila Prabhupada through his lectures. I hear them every day, as well as through his books. These are my primarily two methods with which I feel a very strong connection with him. Reading his books as well as hearing him also. I think hearing his lectures makes me definitely reading his books is always there. It's very clear what he's in his books, the clear philosophy, practical ways also. But I even draw a lot of inspiration and feel a lot of connection with him when I hear his lectures, because at that time you get to know him sometimes as a person as well, because when he's in a lecture he even speaks about so many different matters, like in a way, obviously when you're speaking with someone versus the way you're writing it, there's a difference. So at that time when you hear his lectures, at that time you see that this is the way he speaks, this is the way how his thought process flows, this is how these are the things which like many of his lectures, like he says some point and then he laughs, and then his disciples laugh, and it's a funny thing he says in between. So it makes you like more intimate, like so to say. At least I find it quite intimate at that time. Like, yes, I'm there with him. I'm there in the class at that time. I'm in his divine presence at that time. So yeah, definitely for me, it's lectures as well as his books. But I can't say just these, it's also his disciples, it's also the whole ISKCON setup. Primarily, I can say these two, at least right now in lockdown, I'm realizing the importance of these two. But yes, even otherwise, there are many of them, and no doubt it is also the holy name that he has given us. But yeah, I can say all of them are the ways in which I can connect, but these two are the most important ways for me personally. His lectures as well as his books. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I think Prabhupada began when I started going to ISKCON temple, Jew, because I took up to Krishna consciousness by first reading his books. In fact, prior to that, I used to visit temple, and but I was very fearful and afraid to visit Jew temple because they have a diagram of Lord Narasimhadev, which is very ferocious. I mean, at least when I was small, I saw that for the first time, and then I thought that I will never go to this temple because there are so many aliens here. I mean, we see all devotees with their shaved head, uh, shikha, and then the jumping, in saffron dress and all. So it was very strange for me, and it gave me impression that this is something very weird. So then I, I obviously I was going to temple when I grew up, but not that frequently. So I was mainly visiting Siddhivinayak, Babulnath, Mahalakshmi, and I used to also go to our Haveli, Srinathji's Haveli. Uh, but ISKCON temple, I think I got attraction, started getting attraction when I started my engineering. I got admitted into engineering college, and which was very close to Jew temple because that college is also located in Jew Warsaw Link Road. So then obviously as we grew up, we also matured with time, and I also saw a lot of serials, spiritual serials like Ramayana, Mahabharat, Shiv Puran, so many of them, and I was very dedicatedly seeing all these serials. That commitment and dedication, I think, was right there from the beginning. So somehow one time on my birthday, I just felt I want to go to ISKCON temple because because the temple is extremely popular, and because I was also especially attracted to Krishna. So then I just told my mother that on my birthday I would like to visit the temple. So I went and then took darshan, and then the devotees outside, right after you come uh, out of the temple, then obviously you have to go across the bookstall and everything else, the shops and all. So we know that at the bookstall, the devotees, they are distributing books. At the same time, they are also giving japa cards, and they asked us to chant on the beats. So I think I had chanted one round, I think, that day, and they gave me this japa card, and this japa card had the Panchatattva Mahamantra and the Hare Krishna Mahamantra also. So then I just kept it in my wallet, and there was a very cute, sweet picture of Krishna. Only his face was there, not the entire body. Only the face of Krishna was there, but it was very sweet, and I actually loved that japa card. So I had preserved it for many years, but later on I think I have lost it, or probably it got toned with time. So then, so basically I can say that Harinam Sankirtan probably, and obviously the mercy of, and it is also because of the mercy of devotees ultimately. So it is said in the Shastra that devotees' mercy is actually the root cause of our bhakti. So although we got Harinam and we started with Harinam, but who gave the Harinam? So Harinam was given by the devotees, right? So that is how I started Harinam. I started chanting, and obviously not the entire round. I used to go to college in the morning. I used to Panchatattva Mahamantra. I didn't knew also what is this Panchatattva Mahamantra. I was just like unknowingly chanting Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, and then I was chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So these two Mahamantras I was chanting every day, and then I was also having that in my wallet. And then somehow finally, after a few years, it got arranged that my inclination, eagerness to know about Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita also grew with time. And then I read Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita because it is the most widely widely distributed Bhagavad Gita in the entire world, especially in Bombay and India. you'll see that most of the people, they have in their house Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. So now I think my parents had purchased this Bhagavad Gita, or maybe they got it from somewhere, but it was lying since last 15-20 years in my house. And probably a long time back I had seen the Bhagavad Gita. So I got a desire to start reading the Bhagavad Gita because I was looking for answers. And then I knew that my mother has the Bhagavad Gita by ISKCON. So then I asked her, and then she gave me the copy, and then I started reading the Bhagavad Gita. And I think within a year, I finished the entire Bhagavad Gita, and I was like, whatever Prabhupada said made complete sense to me. I was actually feeling so blissful and happy that whatever thoughts I had, Prabhupada was saying the same thing. So it was like confirming to me. Many things were confirmed by Srila Prabhupada. So then I started visiting ISKCON temple. In fact, this was during my, I was just about to leave for my master's degree in the US. Before that, I started visiting Jew temple. And the very first preacher I got connected to was His Grace Mukund Madhav Prabhu. And I attended his 3-day seminar. And it was very impressive, very scholarly, and very effective. So actually I got connected, but most importantly, I was going to the temple regularly now. And very surprisingly, I don't know why, but whenever I go to the visited temple, although I took the darshan, but then I finally sat besides Prabhupada's Vyasa, which is directly opposite the deities. So I always used to sit near that. And so that time I was not even chanting actually. And I was just like beginning my bhakti. And I didn't knew who is Prabhupada as such. But that kind of was right from the beginning. I don't know what was there, but I used to sit beside him whenever I used to go to temple. And I felt some superior strength is also there. Okay. But then later over a period of time, I did realize that maybe we had some connection with Prabhupada in the previous lifetime. And Prabhupada was just bringing us together. And it's just that we realize it after some time. So when I went to the US and I prayed to Prabhupada also before going to the US. I prayed, and yeah, interestingly, what happened is one of my Shiksha Gurus, the very early, the beginning days, His Grace Ananta Rupa Prabhu, whom we met in Bhubaneswar. Okay, so he was the one who was actually guiding me and questions. So he gave me a link where I could hear all the kirtans and bhajans. And in that link, I was connected to Srila Prabhupada very thoroughly, because I used to hear, I mean, especially his Sad Goswami Ashtakam. It was, I mean, if you hear that Sad Goswami Ashtakam, even right now, you will be transported to a different world altogether. It's so potent. And also the different tunes of Srila Prabhupada on the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So I used to hear them almost every day. And even after going to the US also, I had my small MP3 player, and I had taken all these kirtans of Srila Prabhupada with me. So I used to hear, but actually I got intimately connected with on after going to the US. So there I met my god brother, and then he introduced me to His Grace Kalakant Prabhu, my Shiksha Guru, and by his extraordinary compassion, tolerance, mercy, he was able to fan the spirit was within us. All the devotees who had joined, who were trying to serve Kalakant Prabhu and his followers. So we were all trying to serve Kalakant Prabhu in some way. And such a wonderful, great Vaishnav selfless devotee, and he encouraged us so much. So we started connecting to Srila Prabhupada through preaching. Like we started doing some preaching there, and it was, I mean, my desire was that I wanted to go to a university where I can associate with devotees and also not have any problems with prasadam. That time, obviously, we're not so familiar with prasadam, but I wanted to make sure that we get proper Indian food. So what a amazing arrangement by Srila Prabhupada that he gave me the best association in the entire Western world, the Association of Prabhupada Disciples, the Association of Radha Sham Sundar deities in Alachua, the Krishna House, and the most amazing arrangement was the Krishna Lunch Prasadam, which is distributed on campus since the last more than 40 years now. So Prabhupada had visited Gainesville in 1971, and he had instructed his disciples to start distributing prasadam there and also have kirtan. So for almost for like 2.5 years, I was in Gainesville, Alachua, and I finished my master's degree in 1.5 year. And then I was there for another 1 year. I think so almost 2.5 years I was there. So I could actually, and I think Rajiv Prabhu also made a very important point that it's very important to acknowledge and to understand that Prabhupada's mercy currently is coming through his servants. Those who are helping in our spiritual lives, they are actually the forms of Prabhupada, they are representatives of Prabhupada, and we can learn a lot from them and also see Prabhupada in them. Because the entire process of Krishna consciousness is to be the servant of servant of servant. So definitely, although we have a personal connection with Prabhupada, but at the same time, we also approach Prabhupada through that way. And through that way, we also get more intimately connected with Srila Prabhupada. So, yeah, obviously, that inspiration to do something for Prabhupada was right there from the beginning itself. And I probably guess that Prabhupada knew that desire, and that's how we arranged so many things when we went to the US. And yeah, and I think with time, we can actually understand the arrangement of Srila Prabhupada not just spiritually, which I have already written in my offering, that it's not just spiritually that Prabhupada is helping us, but even if you see in the material context also in the material world, the first and foremost thing is that we are not free from material desires because we are not pure devotees yet. Or, I mean, I cannot say for others, but at least for me, I have anarthas and I have material desires also. And I see that how Prabhupada also fulfills my material desires and he satisfies me in that, so that I stay fixed in Krishna consciousness. If my material desires are not fulfilled, maybe I may become weak, I may become less enthusiastic about it. So you see that depending on devotees' needs, Prabhupada does reciprocate, and he also arranges, he also saves us from a lot of dangerous situations in this material world, and he also arranges purifying ways in the material world for us to get closer to Krishna. So all these things are done simultaneously by Srila Prabhupada. Material reciprocation, spiritual reciprocation, and at the same time purification. So like an expert surgeon, and he knows how to exactly cut the patient where it is required. So that is how Srila Prabhupada, and obviously Prabhupada's manifestation is in the form of our Gurujan, our association of devotees. Prabhupada used to himself say that his disciples were sent by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he saw his Guru in them. So similarly, obviously, I have no qualification, and I am definitely with the spiritual uh, standards, uh, the exalted standard which is described in the Shastra, and the examples that the Guru will set. So I'm way far away from that standard. But still, Prabhupada is giving me opportunity to serve devotees. Obviously, I always want to internally cultivate this mode of being the servant of everyone. In fact, it is true that uh, although we may be junior or senior, depending on uh, the level of maturity, understanding, or in terms of joining the ISKCON movement first, but actually speaking, we are always the servant. In our heart, we are always a servant. And but externally, sometimes we have to do some services like that, which may require some kind of leadership uh, responsibilities, or I mean, we have to act in a way which may go against our own nature also. Okay, so uh, this is only for actually for Srila Prabhupada's mercy. In order to please Srila Prabhupada, we have to sometimes take the responsibility of being a teacher or a guide or a mentor. But actually, we can learn things from even juniors. We can learn so many things, because that every devotee has some special qualifications, special talent, unique talent they have, and not just talents which is connected to the material context, but even spiritually also. Every devotee has a uniqueness, and they know something better than us. Okay, so we can definitely learn from all of them, but obviously the way we exhibit that, it is more of internal rather than showing it externally. So internally, definitely we want to be the humble servants of each and every Vaishnav. But externally, sometimes we also may have to take this kind of service in order to just assist in Prabhupada's mission. So these are all the things that Prabhupada has taught us. In fact, the entire purpose of going through Prabhupada Leelas is to make us understand how Prabhupada dealt with the disciples. It is rightly said in the Shastra that Vaishnavera Kriyera Vigna Mudrena Vijay. So you cannot understand the mind of the Acharya. And that's why Leelas, they are so important, because Prabhupada acted so differently according to circumstances. In fact, contrary. And that's why he is exemplifying this principle of that one cannot understand the mind of Acharya or a Vaishnava. Okay, because they are, the reason is that they are always thinking for the welfare of others, and they are always thinking to help others. And because of, sometimes there may be some lower principles conflicting with the higher principles, and that particular circumstance, they will always go with the higher principles. They will always set standard for the higher principles to follow. So that's why they will behave differently in different circumstances, and that's why we cannot understand the mind of Acharya. Okay, so this is a very important lesson that I've personally learned from Srila Prabhupada's example, and most importantly, Prabhupada is the only Acharya who is like expert in all the areas. This is what is so inspiring about Prabhupada. In any area, if you ask Prabhupada something, he will have an answer for that. And obviously, I don't say that he was perfect in everything, or he knew everything like Krishna. Obviously, that is not possible. But definitely, he's the Acharya who actually understood the material world in a very intimate way, or in a very practical way also. Okay, so he had thorough knowledge of the material world also, and that's how he was able to adjust so many principles in the material world. So that was the uniqueness of Srila Prabhupada. How his entire life is actually an example for all the devotees to understand. I mean, to understand Prabhupada, it will take many lifetimes, I guess. In fact, one time, so when we were in the association of His Holiness Mahanidhi Maharaj, so we were mostly talking and thinking about Radha Bhav, because that was a common theme for each and every follower of Mahanidhi Maharaj, because he used to reside in Radha Kund, and we were like fanatics about Radha Kund and something to connect it with Radharani and all. So we were trying to have this mood of cultivating Radha Bhav. So one time I asked Kalakant Prabhu one question about going back to Godhead. I mean, so it was some detailed question was there, but just to brief it. So I asked Prabhupada, I asked Kalakant Prabhu that, do we have to do all these things? There's so many things are there. Prabhupada did not emphasize so much on these things. And Kalakant Prabhu at the end, he mentioned a wonderful thing. He said that Prabhupada Bhav is sufficient for this lifetime. We may not up Radha Bhav, but Prabhupada Bhav is sufficient for this lifetime. So that was a very striking answer he gave, that Prabhupada Bhav is sufficient. Yeah, and that's reality, that's true also, because ultimately, the more you get intimately connected with Prabhupada, automatically you also get connected to Radha Krishna together, like simultaneously. In fact, in the Chaitanya Chandradai, in the Chaitanya Chandra Amritam by Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur, he makes this point that just by having the deep faith for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the deep desire to stick to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Radharani's love will overflood the heart of the devotee automatically. We don't have to worship separately Radha and Krishna. Just by following, just by attaining the mercy of the associates of Mahaprabhu, the Prema of Srimati Radharani will manifest. It will overflood the heart. Okay. So to the degree we have attachment for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to the same degree, the attachment for Radharani will also manifest. And so here the same thing, because Srila Prabhupada is so intimately connected, the most dear associate of Mahaprabhu, and by having Prabhupada Bhav, one will directly attain Radha Bhav also at the same time. Okay. So, yeah, so in each and everything, I mean, just by the fact that we hear lecture of Prabhupada, we hear his voice, we hear his kirtan, we start reading his books, hairs will stand on end, tears will also come sometime. I mean, Prabhupada will stun us with his persona. That is the effect of Prabhupada. So we may get into the mood of abhas. So obviously we are not in the state of bhav bhakti, but at least we will have some kind of abhas of spiritual emotions. Okay, so that is the potency of Prabhupada. The way Prabhupada will answer, like we are of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada is sometimes he, just by his one-liners, he's cutting off the person, he's chastising someone, he's praising someone. So just by hearing that particular line from Srila Prabhupada, the hairs will stand on end. That kind of influence Prabhupada has. So obviously, with each and everything which is connected to ISKCON, the center is Srila Prabhupada. In that sense, yeah, definitely the remembrance of Prabhupada is always there. It is not separable. It is always connected. Yeah, these are some of my thoughts. Yeah, okay. So, devotees, they have any comments, something to share? Okay, so I think if devotees would like the offerings of other devotees, then they can refer to the recording. Yeah, so all of us gave the offering in the beginning, and then I was speaking something. Uh, Nirvika Mataji entered and she offered, and then like yeah, okay. So what we are now going to do is uh, we will have the classes starting earlier from next time onwards. So what we have decided, maybe around 7:38 we can start after having our dinner, and we can wind up early, maybe around 10:30. So and we have also decided that the Radhashtami class we will have it on Saturday, which is 29th, I think, 29th of August. So because I think on the weekends maximum devotees are able to attend. Okay. So yeah, Rajiv and Angel Mataji, is that okay for you? Other devotees have already their answer, but
Prabhuji, the voice was breaking. Can you repeat? Last में आपने क्या बोला अभी?
yeah, so we're talking about the Radhashtami class on Saturday, 29th of August.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah, and yeah, so I just hope that all the devotees can attend, and maximum devotees can attend festival class. And yeah, devotees who were not able to join the entire class for Janmashtami, they can please hear the recording. And I've also created a channel now. All the recordings will be uploaded there. Um, and yeah, it would be nice if you can also uh, be more personal, and if you can also share your comments, uh, especially for the festival classes. Maybe some feedback if you can give, so it will help me to prepare in the future also.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah. I mean, like just like for example, when we have a program and Matajis are cooking, right? And they want to make sure that whatever they cook is like Amrit, right? Everyone appreciates and everyone praise them for the cooking. So obviously everyone will ask. I mean, the Matajis who will be cooking, she will ask everyone. So how is the prasadam? Is it okay? Anything less? Right? They will be concerned about it. So similarly, I think sometimes it is good to get some kind of feedback also, because we are also concerned whether whatever we are offering is somehow it is pleasing devotees or not. So thinking that Mataji's, you are cooking in the same way, I am also trying to cook something for you. So please give your feedback also. And this is not just for Mataji's, but I just give analogy so that everyone can relate with it. So like, and, I got this analogy because my in the lockdown period, my wife cooks every day, every single day. And she will also cook twice in a day because she has to cook morning and evening now. There are no servants here. So then obviously every time she'll ask me, so how is the preparation? How is this? How is that? And when I go to her and I ask her, so how did you find the class? And then she will reply me that what you are asking again and again, it's okay. I mean, you don't have to ask every time. Um, so then I counter question her and I say that okay, you make prasadam every day, and for each and every item, to forget about twice in a day, but for each and every item, you will ask me how is this preparation, how is that preparation, right? So then she understood my point, and then she said, okay, I got your point. And yeah, maybe for every class I think I have to obviously I don't every class, but at least sometimes in between you can definitely leave some comments or some feedback. Okay, so does it make sense? I mean, it is more personal also, right? I mean, personal in the sense that it has a personal flavor rather than being impersonal.
Yes, no.
Yes, Prabhuji.
I think this cooking example was brilliant. Everyone got this point thoroughly.
No, so if they stop asking you from about their cooking, so does it mean that we also stop asking them
Yeah,
how's the class?
happen.
Yeah, of course, feedback is a good thing. Healthy feedback can only help improve things. So that's a right thing to do.
Yeah, and I think it's justified. Even every time they're asking how is the preparation, I mean, it's quite justified because they are putting efforts and they are concerned be pleasing to the Lord, and it should also satisfy the devotees, right? So definitely it's all connected to pleasing the Lord. And okay, okay, all right, thank you all the devotees uh, for your wonderful offerings, for your wonderful realization thoughts. uh, And so we all wish and we all pray to the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada that we can we can do something in this life to please him. Um, that is our desire. So, all right. So Srila Prabhupada ki,
Right.
yeah,
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhupada.
Then
thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Very good.